Ladies and gents, welcome to the John Say Knows, the conversational podcast covering all things unimportant, where dark humour is encouraged and no topic is off limits. From the sublime to the ridiculous, we've got you covered. Let us know where you're listening from using the hashtag #TheJohnSayKnows or follow me on Instagram at TheJohnSayUK. Today's episode is brought to you by me because for some reason Spotify haven't offered exclusivity yet. So let's get going. This is the podcast. This is the John Say Knows. Today's guest is a guy I've known for years. He now lives in America with his wife and child, soon to be children, and coaches football or soccer. Following the football route his father originally forged, he has plotted his own path to success in the sport. We grew up together playing ridiculous amounts of Football Manager and making up stupid garden games. I am delighted to welcome Mr. David Maddren.
Nice. That's awesome, mate. Brilliant. Great.
Good evening from me. It's good afternoon to you, isn't it?
Yeah. Just past noon. So it's a great time to crack open a beer and have a catch up with one of my oldest friends.
Wow, mate, it's been years. I think we've known each other since we were, I want to say 3.
It's got to be close. Yeah, it's got to be close.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I've probably known you the longest in my life in terms of, friends. I think Chris Cook almost maybe has you, but I think you were first.
And here we are recording a dodgy podcast on a Tuesday evening. How far we've come.
Cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers, mate. For the listeners, I'm drinking a Coors Light because I thought it would be sort of homage to the American, but Dave reminded me before we came on that it's basically like drinking water. So that's gone. As with any podcast, we're going to dial into the quickie picky feature nice and early. I always introduce this so listeners get an absolutely no idea into you, but it's a load of nonsensical questions to paint a small picture. So we'll dive into that one straight away. Question 1. Who's the best footballer in the world?
Currently, the best footballer in the world. Well, people would go for, I think, the obvious answer of Messi, Ronaldo, but I'm going to go with, for me personally, Kevin De Bruyne.
Oh, why's that?
I just think he has everything. And for me, I just enjoy watching him play more than anyone. You know, just the way that he plays the game, the way that he sees it, his vision, what he does on and off the ball, positions he picks up. He's just an incredible football player. So
fair enough. Controversial to all of the Messi fans who listen.
Oh, for sure. But, I had to think outside the box for that one. You can't just go with the obvious.
Question 2. What is your favourite pudding?
Oh, pudding. Well, I'm a chocolate man, so it's got to have chocolate in it. I'm a sucker for a molten lava chocolate cake.
Oh, you've stepped up in the world since we used to eat Freddos when we were younger. Who would win in an arm wrestle, you or Bernie Sanders?
No question, Bernie. No question.
He's a big lad, isn't he?
Yeah, I was a footballer, no muscles in these arms.
How would your wife describe you in 3 words?
Annoying would be one. It's hard to get past annoying because I think I just annoy her too much. So
given that you're recording this from your garage.
Yeah. Not funny. That's 2 words.
Yeah.
Even though I think I am funny. And probably ginger.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which one word would you use to describe Donald Trump's hair?
Tragic.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Who is your biggest inspiration?
Well, I would say for just my life in general, I think my father was for sure. So I'd go with my dad. Yeah.
The legend, Mr. Willie Maddren. We'll come on to him later. Legend.
Yeah.
Britain or America?
America.
Ooh, USA. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Can't let your mum listen to this.
No chance.
What is your favourite childhood movie?
Oh boy, childhood movie. It's a toss-up between Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and Mary Poppins, but I'm going to go Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, it's an absolute classic.
Yeah, brilliant.
Absolute classic. And finally, if you could go back in time, which single event would you change or stop?
Go back in time.
One thing from history that you could change.
And I had the power to change it. So when I went back in time,
you do it. Yeah.
Man, that's such a good question. I'm just gonna have to go on. What would I do? I would go back to the cup final where Middlesbrough conceded after 30 seconds with Roberto Di Matteo, and I would go into the changing room right before the game, and I'd tell them, "Hey, look, first 30 seconds, you got to stay switched on here, please. We cannot concede in the first 30. Give us a chance. Give us a chance." I was just crushed that day.
That was back when it was the Coca-Cola Cup final, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I remember Middlesbrough Coca-Cola Cup specialist team.
Yeah.
Well, I think as with ever, we often learn nothing in the Quickie Picky feature, but we have learned one thing in there. And obviously, I knew your father well, and you talked about him as one of your biggest inspirations. He was a international footballer, player, manager, legend of Middlesbrough Football Club, and big inspiration to yourself and to many other people. Tell me about following his inspiration, what that story means to you and everything, because, I know he's an absolute legend, but for the listeners, tell me about that.
Yeah, well, it's tough because in hindsight now, obviously when I was younger, my dad passed away when I was 11. So all I can ever remember is probably the 3, 4, 5 years before he passed. And at that point, he was just kind of my annoying dad. He was just my annoying dad, like everyone else's dad. And he would take me out in the garden, wouldn't let me leave until I could drive the ball with my laces properly and kick the ball in the right line. And I just didn't want to have any of it. But then in hindsight, now I look back and go, wow, what an opportunity I had and what an inspiration he was, with just like his outlook on life was so positive. Knowing that he was terminally ill, he could have kind of taken all the negatives out of it. But really, he always had a smile on his face. He was always having a good laugh. And he was just a joy to be around. And then that kind of just rubbed off onto me and made me realize life is so short. You can't take anything for granted. And it's just, enjoy every moment that you have, because you never know when it's gone. As deep and as serious as that sounds, it's just been kind of the lesson that I've taken from it, really. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I remember him being just Mr. Positive, loved everything. Like, I remember we used to play football in your back garden. I said, well, you played football and I just picked the ball out of the back of the net. Especially if Joe Harley was there. And his questionable defensive tactics. But I remember your dad just coming out and watching us. I remember he used to let us race his wheelchair around the garden. Do you remember that? What a man, and total inspiration. And obviously there's, shrine isn't the right word, but there's multiple you've got multiple legacy things at the Middlesbrough Stadium, hasn't he? And just a fantastic inspiration, and obviously an absolute club legend for Middlesbrough, massive football club in the Northeast. So it's really cool that he's inspired you, and really cool that you're still involved in football and you followed him. But you've also forged your own path, because you're over in America now. You said you chose America over Britain, highly controversially.
I have to, yeah.
Well, I suppose, the wife might let you out the garage if that's the case.
Yeah, that's true.
Tell us about that. So you moved over, that's years ago now, isn't it? But tell us about that. Tell us what you do, your job now and everything.
Been here 14 years now. So, it was just kind of, I was trying to find my own way a little bit when I was 17, and I was still playing and wanting to play at the highest level I could. And I just remember I was sat in my bedroom playing on my Xbox, and I just got a phone call off this guy from America, and it was kind of on the table, and I was thinking about it, but I was like, I'll maybe wait until I'm 18 until I go and wait one more year. And he just rang and he's like, we've got a guy, a Ugandan centre back who couldn't get through the clearinghouse. Do you want to come over? Our season starts in a week. And I was like, can you hold? Mom, there's a guy asking if I want to come to America and play football at the time. Now it's soccer for me. And I was like, she was like, do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, why not? Let's go. 2 weeks later, I'm over in Mobile, Alabama. I had no idea where it was, and I'm playing soccer over there.
Oh,
So
amazing.
it was yeah, and it just kind of kick-started. I loved the experience. Brilliant place to live. It was just so different, and everything was just like a learning experience from just the different culture and how people behave and what it's like over here. And I just loved it. Loved every second. So
I would never wish the hardship on anybody, but for your sake, I'm glad that the Ugandan centre back didn't pass the clearinghouse, or who knows, we might have still been playing in your garden in Teesside on a five-a-side goal.
For sure, yeah, there's a good chance. And I don't know how they got. I don't know whether they got a good end of the deal or a bad end, that they got me instead of a Ugandan. I think it was a Ugandan international, youth international, but they got me instead. So,
and that was Mobile, Alabama. Is that? I'm terrible with geography. Is that fairly south? Is it?
Yeah, right on the coast, and it's pretty much right on the border of Florida.
And was that a fairly big cultural? I mean, anything American's a cultural change, but I'd imagine Alabama a fairly big cultural shift for you.
Massive, yeah, massive. It was. It's kind of the class it as the Bible Belt. So down there, it's very very religious, and the school that I went to was a Baptist school. So for me, coming from England, I really had no idea what I was getting into at all. But it all worked out. It was, for me, it was the players that I was around, the players that I was playing with, and the coach were brilliant. And then all the other stuff just kind of dealt with, including school. School, as you maybe can remember, school wasn't my strongest point. So I was there really for the football, not so much the school.
Good marks in the physical side of things. Academic, yeah. Do that another day.
yeah. C's get degrees is what my was.
And what you talk about trying to play the highest standard. So what was the standard there, and what happened? How far did you get playing?
So the standard of the team I was playing in was really good. So when I got there, the captain of the team had 35 caps for Kenya first team.
Oh wow!
Played in World Cup qualifiers. He had to man mark JJ Kocher.
Try.
Try to. So we had players like that with like really good, pedigree. And when I graduated, the year that I finished, we had 3 or 4 guys from our team go to the MLS.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and as it will sound like that, but unfortunately, I had I would class it as a career-ending injury, because the last time I ever played was 2010.
Oh really?
I tore my ACL, MCL, and PCL, all 3 ligaments in my knee in one tackle.
Oh.
And that was it. So then after that, I guess I've got to get into something else. And got into the coaching side. So and after that, it was just kind of,
Was it your tackle, or did someone tackle you?
No, it was a stitch up. My holding midfielder gave me a bit of a hospital pass, and I ended up winning the ball, passing it, and I think to make up for it, he kind of shoved the guy that was tackling me, and he ended up just jumping through the side of my knee, and just kind of tore everything. I was just And
are you still friends with that guy today, or is he in the basement locked up?
No, I don't blame him for anything. No chance, but it's all part of the game. But at the end of the day, I don't talk to him much, but I'm not great with keeping in touch with people, as you might also know.
Well, me neither, mate. So we've known each other for 32 years or 31 years or something silly like that. Right, okay. And then, so coaching, because I think I said one of the, I think it was the first podcast with Craig, our inimitable Scottish guest, that America are like brilliant at embracing brilliance and success. And if you're good at something, it doesn't matter what it is, but if you're in America, people love it. How did you find that, before we get onto the coaching, how did you find that as a player, with because everything's bigger, better, madder, crazier. How was that compared to, a dark Sunday, a dismal, wet Sunday, down the local Sunday pitch? What was it like moving over there and playing?
I would say for me, I'd been in an academy in England, and where I'd been training every day, playing, Wednesdays, playing Saturdays, And then when I got there, apart like the American kids just didn't have the same level of commitment, and they weren't used to training for me the right way, because I was a player that had to maximize all of his potential. I wasn't the fastest or the strongest or the biggest, so I had to be smarter and train harder than other people. And I just felt like kids in America didn't really quite have that yet. Apart from like the Europeans and the African kids that were on our team, I think the Americans struggled with that. But for the last 15 years, they've changed a lot of things in terms of the structure over here. They have academies now where kids are now training every day and in the right environments, and it's slowly getting better. And to your point now, I would say, it's not that America are worse at soccer than all the rest of the countries, where they're just 30 years behind. So, give them some time, and I guarantee they'll, at some point, America will probably start catching up with the rest of the world, because they're now starting to do things a little bit better in terms of setting up academies and training the kids the right way. So,
and what about superstars? Because obviously you've had Beckham over the MLS and things like that. We've got Pulisic in Chelsea now. There's some decent American names. He's a serious player.
Yeah.
You think in 30 years they could, there's the budget there, I would imagine. Obviously the American women's team are with Megan Rapinoe at the helm. They're absolutely the world beaters, aren't they? So I dread to think what will happen if the men's team become a soccer superpower. It'll be game over for everybody else.
Yeah. Well, you just don't know. I mean, it's a massive cultural change, because in England, football is the number one sport. Yeah. Right. So everyone, initially when they're growing up, 90% of kids want to be a footballer. I want to be a footballer. I want to play football, because it's just our culture. Over here, it's not quite like that yet, because you have American football, you have baseball, you have basketball. Right. Soccer's a little bit further down the line for some kids.
Right.
So that's slowly starting to change. I think it's starting to be more accepted now, and people are, enjoy soccer a little bit more. And I think eventually, you never know. Eventually, you'd think, and I would hope that the US would start to become a little bit more competitive on the world scene, maybe in 10, 15 years' time. You never know.
So after your knee was completely capitulated by the guy who lives in your basement, you said you have to find something, get busy, don't get angry, get even, get good at something, and it was coaching. Tell me about that journey, because you're now coaching, you've moved, you're not obviously in Mobile anymore, but tell that story. What was that decision-making process like? What made you totally commit to it, move where you are, etc.? Tell that story.
Yeah, well, it's, I've been playing football my whole life, and it was one of those things. It's like, all right, well, now I can't play. That's been taken away. What else am I good at that I can, maybe have a career in? And I was like, well,
playing Championship Manager.
Yeah, well, I was always good at Football Manager. I was always really good at Football Manager. Why not try coaching? So got into it, and like always, the first couple of years, it's kind of, I think I know it all. I'm this guy who's just finished playing. And then you realize at that point, after a couple of years, you're like, once you start learning and becoming more knowledgeable about the profession, you realize you know nothing.
Yeah.
It's the old, unconsciously incompetent. I was just bad at coaching. And I didn't know I was bad at coaching. I thought it was good. But just more experience, more learning, more education, going through my licenses. I just got into it and I just loved it. And it's kind of like this, it's just this passion. Yeah, this passion of just trying to gain more knowledge of not only the game, but ways that you can teach kids and that you can coach them and find ways that they learn and pick up things better. So then, it makes your job easier. So yeah, it's just a massive passion, and I just love it and trying to learn and get better every day. And now I've learned more, I feel like I know less in the game than I did when I started, because the more I learn, the more I realize, man, I just need to keep learning. Keep getting better. Yeah.
It's not as simple as 4-4-2, kick it that way, just be better, is it?
No, it was when I was a kid. That's what my coaches did. But yeah, it's way different now. Yeah.
And so you're down in, remind me where you are now.
I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. So
Raleigh. And was that a job that took you there, or is that the missus? Have you handled it there?
Yeah, my job took me here, so I got an opportunity to work with. It used to be called Castle, but now we're called the North Carolina Courage.
Right.
So I work on the women's side. So our
Right.
professional women's team are one of the best in the world. We have some unbelievable players. So we have Dabinha, who's the number 10 for Brazil. We have a bunch of the US national team players that play that won the World Cup recently. So we've got a brilliant team. And so I'm the assistant academy director of their youth program. So I work for the players. So we're in the academy setup where I'm working with currently the 13s and the 15s.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. I'm working
some serious athletes.
Some players, some really good players. Yeah.
Yeah. It came into my head the other day. What was the story about when you were playing? I remember. I was thinking, I can't remember when you told me. Was there a story about David Beckham? Somebody bumped into him, or somebody bumped into. What was that story?
It was it was spring break. It was spring break. And I'm on spring break right now, so obviously there's only one place. Yeah, I'm drinking a beer in my garage. Doesn't get more rock and roll than that. We're on spring break. This is when I was still in college, and there's only one place to go when you're on spring break. It was Panama City Beach, right?
Right.
It's just the place where all the kids 18 years old and older want to go and party. So we went there, and we had this very, very confident English lad in our team who was good looking and had the gift of the gab. And we're just waiting in this line to get in a nightclub for a good couple hours. The line was out around the corner, and we're like, what, screw this. He walks to the front and says, we've got a bunch of players from LA Galaxy here.
Right.
We're all in the Galaxy Academy, just come down for spring break. Would you let us in? And obviously at that time, Americans were like, oh, no way, man. Bring them all up. So the whole week we're pretending that we're best friends with David Beckham, and we're getting VIP treatment and all of this stuff. And little did they know that we're furthest away from being best friends with David Beckham. But VIP tickets and stamps every night. It was great. So, yeah.
And have you ever met any of the megastars that have come over?
No, not so much. No. I mean,
I remember being in a Bobby Robson was in the late great was in one of your gardens for a barbecue once. I remember. Yeah. I think we were sat.
Birthday. Yeah.
Was it your 18th birthday?
Yeah.
I just remember sat at the side. It was your mum's house when she moved, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, Bobby Robson.
Yeah. You know what he gave me for my 18th birthday? He gave me his Barcelona tracksuit, his coaching tracksuit.
Bobby did?
Yeah, he gave me his Barcelona tracksuit. Amazing it was. And I told my mum, I was like, we need to find that, dust it off and bring it over. I need to get this framed and in my house.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The most ill-fitting, wide, short-armed, big square. Yeah.
Super baggy and shiny it was. It was proper class. 90s, 80s. Yeah, it was really
the retro
cool.
as. What other stories? Because we talked a little bit about your dad earlier. What have you got any other sort of memories of just interacting with these megastars from your childhood?
I mean, so obviously, my mum remarried and married John, who's pure legend. It was such a nice
not
guy.
Me. Obviously.
Yeah, not John. Yeah. So he was Bobby Robson's nephew. So he would take me to Newcastle games very often. And John's also a hairdresser. So I would, before the games, he would cut Bobby's hair.
Right.
So I would go down and I'd be sat in his kitchen with Bobby, and Bobby's getting his hair cut. John's cutting his hair, and he would always be telling me stories about how he tried to sign my dad at Ipswich, but Borough would never let him go. And then 5 minutes later, he's just asleep in the chair while John's cutting his hair. And this is a couple of hours before a big Newcastle game.
The Newcastle game was the first game I ever actually went to. My dad took me, and they beat, I want to say, Southampton 5-0. My dad took me, and he said, right, son, we've got Newcastle, we've got real good seats here, so you need to dress up. So I must have been 13 or something, and I wore a short-sleeved shirt and borrowed one of my dad's ties. But back in the day, there was absolutely nothing slim fit or sort of minimalist about this tie. It was one of those big, wide, colourful, what my dad's like, colourful, flowery ties. And I had this on with this small child and sat there. And obviously, I've gone to this game and we're in these nice seats with cushions as opposed to just the plastic one, which was just, oh, wow, felt like a celebrity. And they won 5-0. But then, of course, at a Newcastle game, you're just surrounded by drunk Geordies abusing everything that goes wrong for either team. And I'm sat there in this wide, flowery tie that makes me look like a magician with my dad. Not even a Newcastle fan, just loved every minute.
Nothing on Hartlepool, was it?
Oh, mate, nothing beats Hartlepool. For anybody who does listen that isn't from the Northeast, Hartlepool is a very small local club that my family are big fans of. I have to say now, I've got a Liverpool shirt now, mate.
Oh no!
I live on the Wirral. So.
You've jumped off and you jumped onto the bandwagon, have you?
Yeah, it was ever since Hartlepool's win ratio was about 1 in 15 that I thought I can't be doing this anymore.
Following the glory, huh? Following the glory.
It was when Nobby Solano retired and left Hartlepool. I thought,
what a player!
No, what a
player! I have a conversation with my fellow colleagues a lot. One of my coaching colleagues, my boss is actually from Newcastle.
All right.
And we always have the debate of when a kid tries to use their right foot and when the ball's really on their left. And he's like, we need to develop players that can use both feet. And my argument is always Nobby Solano. Nobby Solano didn't use both feet. It just become really good with one. Yeah, just go use the outside if you're right. It doesn't matter what you use as long as it works. But yeah, what a player.
What a wizard. And as you said there, was it your missus? So married an American girl.
Yeah,
your family absolutely love her, which is great. So what about that story? Because I didn't manage to get over to your wedding, did I?
No, yeah.
Got a kid, got a second one imminently arriving.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
Is it 3 weeks?
3 weeks to go. So I'm trying to live my best life until 3 weeks.
Spring break.
Come around and then, spring break. A couple of rounds of golf are planned and then I think that's it. Lock me indoors. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you know what you're having?
A boy, second boy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
What a manly household.
Yeah, we'll take over at some point. We'll take over.
She the boss.
She'll be in the garage soon.
Yeah. The golf course has only just reopened here today, even though they're obviously the easiest places to keep safe.
Yeah.
They only opened today, so a load of people have taken annual leave and got on the golf.
So now you've got hundreds of thousands of people on golf courses.
Yeah. All hacking the ball left and right across fairways. Talk about spring break makes me laugh. We call it half term. It just doesn't sound anything like as glamorous.
So boring. Yeah, so boring. It's got to be spring break. Woo, woo, woo.
We called it something interesting. People would be a bit more enthusiastic, I think. So you're over in America. I mentioned Bernie Sanders, who you think would beat you in an arm wrestle. Have to ask, because the majority, 95% of the listeners are UK-based and, obviously friends and family. We haven't quite cracked the world stage yet with this podcast. American politics. Haven't interviewed anybody American yet.
Yeah.
What's going on? What's it been like? What's it been now? I have to ask.
Crazy, absolutely crazy. My wife actually had to come off Facebook because she just couldn't take the people,
right?
Who were just loving Trump and nonsense people would come out with and say. So yeah, it was a very, I'd say, crazy last 4 years, and especially the last year or so with the elections, things like that. People are just very loyal to their parties, probably similar to England, where doesn't matter who it is. If I'm Republican, I'm going to vote Republican, or if I'm Democrat, I'm going to vote Democrat. Doesn't matter, Are
you a citizen now?
I'm a permanent resident.
So can you vote?
I cannot vote, no.
Oh, so you just have to listen to everybody's nonsense, even though you've been there 14 years, so you can obviously have a formed opinion.
Yeah, and then if I give my opinion, it's like, oh, what do you care? You're English. I was like, well, I live here now.
Man. And what about Meghan and Harry? Does everyone ask you about them?
Everyone does, and I honestly couldn't care less about the the royal family, to be honest. But I've got to just come up with some sort of answer when they ask me about it.
Yeah. But, like pretend you know them. Yeah, last time I spoke to them, they said that, right.
Yeah, last time I spoke to him, it sounded like he was having a bit of a hard time, but I had no idea. But the politics stuff, it's yeah, it was. I tried to stay out of it with my opinions, but I'm glad that we voted for a nicer person. I think.
He seems like a bit of he's had a bit of a rough time as well. So if he's still keen to be in American politics, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I believe one of his children died. I think he's had multiple family deaths. And he's come out of this, and he seems just like a nice person, which is odd in politics. And then the classic media, he falls up the stairs once, and on the way up to the Air Force One, and everyone says, "Oh, he's not fit for office." No, we've all fallen up the stairs, man.
I'm telling you, mate, I would be not fit for office every day because I'm falling up and down my stairs. All the toys that are on those stairs these days now.
I just wish he styled it out with like a gymnastic style finish, hands in the air. But I mean, come on, everyone just picks the negative in something. The bloke tripped on the stairs. We've all done it.
Yeah. It's the social media thing now is tough, isn't it? We just live in a world where everyone brings out the negatives and everything. So it's not.
Yeah, it is. I don't want to get too deep into American politics because hopefully when you share this with all your listeners, I don't want to cause too many divides. Next thing you know, you'll have stones and eggs getting thrown at the house. So it feels like a natural time to go to the ad break. We will be back with Mr. David Maddren on Beyonce Knows very shortly. It's a very special ad break this week in homage to Nathan Evans and the sea shanty song he's recorded that's doing the rounds at the moment. This is Beyonce with COVID Sea Shanty. There once was a virus that lived in thee, the name of it COVID-19. It made you feel like a lump of coal, come on and get a cure. Soon may the vaccine be in my left arm, I said yes please. One day we'll be drinking whiskey in the pubs at 9 a.m. I've not been to see my mates, my social life's in dire straits. How do you even talk in person? I'm only good on Zoom calls. Soon may the vaccine be in my left arm, I said yes please. One day we'll be drinking whiskey in the pubs at 9 a.m. Da 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 da. I've been diagnosed with nervousness. I've got no emotional robustness. I'm a mute and suppressed and an introvert. I need to get a beer down. Soon may the vaccine be in my left arm. I said yes, please. One day we'll be drinking whiskey in the pubs at 9 a.m. I've gotten over all my fears and now I'm drinking all the beers. You can't shut me up, I won't be silenced. Now go and buy me lager. Soon may the vaccine be in my left arm. I said yes please. One day we'll be drinking whiskey in the pubs at 9 a.m. Da 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 da. I've not been home in a week of nights. I've lost my job, but I'll be alright. I'll just call up my friend Rishi and tell him give me furlough. Soon may the vaccine be in my left arm. I said yes please. One day we'll be drinking whiskey in the pubs at 9 a.m. I kinda wish for lockdown 4. I can't take this life for any much more. I'm dreaming of another virus. Come on, COVID-20. Soon may the vaccine be in my left arm. I said yes, please. One day we'll be drinking whiskey in the pubs at 9 a.m. Soon may the vaccine be in my left arm. I said yes, please. One day we'll be drinking whiskey in the pubs at 9 a.m. Soon may the vaccine be in my left arm. I said yes, please. One day we'll be drinking whiskey in the pubs at 9 a.m. Welcome back to Beyonce Knows. I'm joined by David Maddren, a man I've known for 30 plus years. He lives in America now, and he's already said he's chosen America over Britain. So we're going to dive into a little bit of that. But first thing I want to discuss is the refresher alcoholic drink that I've brought back with me. It's not a beer, it's a cider. It's a mango and yellow mandarin cider. I'm not sure there's a wankier drink on the market. What do you think of that?
It's not bad. It's not bad. Similar to they do one over here called a habanero cider.
Right.
It's like a really spicy jalapeno one. You drink it and it's just like sets your mouth on fire.
Oh, not for me. This is an oldie classic.
Oldie, love it.
Yeah, I'm not wasting any money, mate. So after the ad break now, we're going to go to my favourite feature, which is Legend and Loser of the Week. So I'm going to ask you to tell me, I've pre-warned you, so hopefully you had a little bit of time to think about it. More time than me, because I've forgotten. But your Legend of the Week and why, and your Loser of the Week and why. Feel free to be as controversial as you like.
Well, I try to keep it on a sports theme because I'm more of I only really keep up with sports. I try to stay away from normal news. So I've gone with Lewis Hamilton as my hero of the week.
Oh yeah.
And the reason for that, obviously, he won the Bahrain Grand Prix. And the reason is because I've actually started watching this week that Formula One Netflix show.
Born to Survive, is it, or something?
Yeah. And I was not much of a big Formula One fan. And then I started watching this, and it's just fascinated me, absolutely fascinated me. And, you just sometimes give me shivers watching them, how quick they go, how close they are to the barrier. Yeah. You've just got to be an absolute nut job to do it, really. And I think it just goes a little unnoticed how good Lewis Hamilton really is. So I've just been impressed with him this last week because I've been watching the documentary and also.
Well, it's a really easy. There's a lot of. He's not Flavour of the Month or Flavour of the Year with a lot of British people, and it's such a simplistic opinion that a lot of people give for it. Say, well, he drives the fastest car.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're all quick. Yes, he's probably got one of the best teams around him, but he's a tactical genius. He glues to the road. It's because it's one of these things. He's not. His personality sometimes doesn't, stick with a lot of people. But in my opinion, it's a bit like the Andy Murray thing when a load of people called him boring and said this and that. Yeah, but his job is to be a sportsman and to be brilliant. Yeah. And Lewis Hamilton is without a doubt the best Formula One driver in the world. So I don't know why we don't celebrate him. Like Andy Murray was his job was to be a tennis player. So let's just celebrate him being shit hot at that. And I completely agree with you. And yesterday, is it Monday night? Yeah. Yesterday's performance was absolutely staggering because he didn't have the best car yesterday.
Yeah. And it was, I watched it. I watched the highlights. It was amazing. It was amazing what he does, and just like the grit, determination, and just, fantastic. Yeah. And I've got a newfound respect for Formula One, and after watching the show, because I had no idea what these guys go through, and it was.
Has that transcended America yet, or is it still NASCAR, or is it not really?
NASCAR's number one, baby.
NASCAR's driving in a circle.
Yeah. Not so much. No, NASCAR's still the go-to over here.
Yeah. Because I think is it Circuit of the Americas? Is that in Texas? I want to say. You say it's number one. I think the Formula One American Grand Prix fan attendance is still one of the biggest in the world, and it's just amazing that it's not seen as big in America. It's seen as bonkers everywhere else when they get 30,000 fans. They get 120,000 fans to the American Grand Prix, and it's like, NASCAR dwarfs it.
Well, you look at it. You look at just collegiate football. So I'm talking American football now. You have some schools that have 120,000 people coming to the games.
So that's university sport, basically.
Amateur sports, 120,000 people.
It's mad.
And these guys can't get paid. They're just doing it to get their degree, and they've got 120,000 people in this thing.
I once played a hockey match, field hockey for the Americans, at university, and the umpire was holding a fish and chip takeaway meal while he umpired the game. There wasn't 120 bugs in attendance, and you've got 120,000 people watching. I love it. Oh, I love it. We'll come back onto American sport, actually. Who is your loser of the week? Great legend and great justification. I like that. Who's your loser?
Well, I had some thoughts on this, and I wanted to keep it sports based. So I've gone for Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't know if you've seen him this week, but he scores in an international game, scores the last minute winner. Ball goes over the line, but the referee doesn't call it. I don't think they have VAR or a goal line technology. So I'm calling him the loser for his reaction after. I just wasn't very impressed with. He storms off the field, rips his captain's armband off, throws it on the floor, has a massive temper tantrum. And I think the definition of a captain pretty much he's just redefined it by walking off, throwing his armband on the floor like a petulant child. At the end of the day, sports, things happen out of your control, and you've got to rise above it. For me personally, as talented, as amazing as he is as a player, I just don't think that was one of his finest moments. So I'm going to call him my loser of the week. Yeah,
that's fair enough. Yeah. It reminds me, you remember Kirk? He sent me a voice message on WhatsApp the other week, reminding me of what thing my dad said to me when I got out for about 10 playing cricket for Wolverhampton under-13s, and I slapped my bat off my pad in fury and went and sat in the changing rooms, and he said, "John Harris, you do not slap your bat off your pad. You're supposed to be the captain. Now stop sulking, get out there and support your team." Like, Dad, I just got 10. Playing for Wolves under-13s, give us a break.
He's right, though, isn't he?
But he's damn well right. Yeah, as the captain, got to be made of tough stuff, haven't you? Got to, made of absolute steel, see the good in everything. And I agree with you. I love Cristiano Ronaldo because I've got a real thing about arrogant sportsmen. I love, because if you're arrogant and brilliant, it's fine. If you're arrogant and terrible, or not terrible, but average, like Nick Kyrgios, the tennis player, you can't back it up, then get out. But if you're arrogant and brilliant, there's something I really like about it. But yes, I've seen the videos of him throwing his captain's armband down. Come on, mate. You've got guys there that look up to everything you do. Kids that are watching.
I don't take away the fact he has a right to be angry. It was a goal, right? He's every right to be upset, angry, but I think there's different ways you can manage that rather than walking off, throwing an armband on the floor and acting like a 5-year-old. I think there's different ways of doing it, So what's he going to do if the same thing happens in the Euros this summer? And
I know, which they'll still qualify for the World Cup. Man. Of course they will. Yeah. He's Cristiano Ronaldo. He just scores when he wants. Well,
famous last words. Last words right there.
You heard it here first. Yeah. I'll be like that. Was it the turtle a few years ago that predicted the results of some of the World Cup games? Yeah. Had some turtle float down to the bottom of the thing, and it got like 3 games correct. It chose the winner. Anyway, as I said to you before we started recording, I had forgotten my legend and loser of the week, but you were so well prepared with 2 that I'm going to use yours. I've Googled his name. My legend and loser is the same person, and it is Captain Yash Gupta, who is the captain. It's a brilliant name, Yash Gupta. You don't want to get that the wrong way around. Gash Gupta, the captain of the cargo ship that has been horizontally blocking the Suez Canal, I believe, over a week now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like he's done some sort of handbrake turn to impress the bird that he fancies. Yeah. And he's
done just Austin Powers.
He has done some of the memes, that Austin Powers scene where he's just going back and forward in millimeters. I saw, there's obviously loads of good memes because there's that photo of this monstrous ship just dwarfing it, and then this one little, what looked like a kid's toy digger just nibbling away at the bottom. And one of them said it was like the ship and it had my credit card bill, and then the little nibbling digger was monthly minimum payment. And I thought, we've all definitely been there as a student. Yeah, I say as a student last week.
Yeah, brilliant.
So that was Captain Yash Gupta, legend and loser. American sports is very going to be a sport-focused podcast, which I'm more than happy with. I live in Britain. I love any sport. I will watch Crown Green Bowls. I'll watch the darts. I'll watch absolutely anything if it's got an element of competition. If there's a win-loss option, I will watch it. American sports, personally for me, my wife and I went to a Yankees game. I tried a little bit to get into American football, but what's it been like going up? Because when you hear it's football, it's rugby, it's cricket, right? Some of the big ones. Over there, completely different. So what's that been like? Are you fans? Are you a fan of some big teams now, or how's that work?
I've gone through stages, but nothing. Not a big fan. Not a big fan of baseball. Number one, terrible for me. Terrible, too slow. And my first ever baseball game, I was like, I'll try and get into it. We had a professional baseball team in Jackson when I lived in Mississippi. And I went, and the score was, we were there for 2.5 hours, I think the game was, and the score was 1-0. There was one run scored, and I'm just watching these guys strike out, and The only thing that was good about American sports and baseball in particular is that you just get to sit and drink beer while you watch it.
Yeah.
So
with a massive. I like the ones where you get the big cup and then you have the food that surrounds it in like the sort of the suspended bowl. I'm all for that.
Yeah, they're not stupid here. I mean, in the baseball grounds, you have beer holders in your seats, so that's the plus. It's not like you're cramming into the riverside and you got nowhere to put your beer. You can stick your beer and your hot dogs down and you're ready to go. So not a massive fan. If I was to say my favorite would probably be American football. But I only ever really turn it on when either the Saints are playing.
That New Orleans Saints?
New Orleans, yeah. New Orleans Saints. Good knowledge. That's good knowledge. Either when they're playing or whether it's in the playoffs. I don't really watch regular season.
Well, I've been, with my job, I've been out to Philadelphia. I think we were going to try and meet up when it wasn't possible. So then I watched 2 Eagles games on the telly. Next thing you know, I've got an Eagles cap. I'm all following everything. I'm retweeting them. I'm a British fan. Can't wait for you guys to come over. 3 weeks later, I've not got a moment's interest. But it's one of those things. What I like about it, I'd like to go to the car park. I don't know what they call it, the party that they have in the car park while the game's on. Guys don't even go into the tailgate. Oh man, that looks good. There's another booze fest.
Yeah, I've had some good tailgating stories and parties. I tell you that. Oh my goodness! But the best ones are the college games. It's not the professional ones.
Oh really?
You'll go to the college games and they'll have tailgating, and you don't even have to go into the ground. You just stay outside and play beer pong and drink and have fun, and
Right. I'm there when we're allowed to travel. I'm there.
They do that right. That's the only thing they do right is drinking and sports, I think.
Yeah. Well,
you don't get the sports right, but they get the drinking side right.
Well, when they take over the soccer world, then you can you'll be quite far up the ladder by that stage. So you'll be telling them, "Oh, guys, it's been soccer all along." You said when we were offline on the ad break that you've recently watched the film Coming to America, the remake, and I've said it has been slated in the reviews. I've never seen either of them, but you said you quite liked it. What's it about?
Dude, if you haven't seen either, get yourself on there and watch them. Especially the first one. The first one's great.
What is it?
It's just it's about like an African king who doesn't want to do the traditional. This is the first one anyway.
Right.
Doesn't want to do the traditional arranged marriage. So he wants someone to test his intellectual brain as well as his loins. So he goes to America to find that woman. No better place to go than Queens.
Right. It wasn't a Ugandan centre back who didn't get into football squad, was it?
No, I don't think so. But yeah, it's great. It's good watch. Good watch. I just like a terrible comedy that I can just chuckle along with. Yeah.
Well, talking about terrible comedies, my favourite TV show I think of all time now is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. We haven't got the latest series here yet, I don't think. Unless people would like to watch it on dodgy streaming devices, which I'll remind them is illegal. But yeah, I've recently got into, for years got into Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but I've recently got into Superstore. Not seen that? Oh, it's broken here.
No.
It's like they basically work in a mock-up of Target, basically. And it's just, they just take the mick out of the fact that you can, go and pick up some cornflakes and a handgun. And I mean, I'm hoping he says, I won't ask you. Well, I'd love to ask you about guns. I can't imagine it's something that's particularly easy to talk about in America.
No, it's not.
No,
definitely not. For the fact, number one, I've lived in Alabama and Mississippi, so they're pretty strong about the guns and their hunting and stuff down there. So we'll stay away from that topic.
Yeah, if you share this with any of your friends, diplomatically done. Point taken. And what about? I do want to talk. It's a podcast that I hope in the majority is lighthearted and fun. But I did want to get on and ask what it's been like with the Black Lives Matter movement over in America, because that has, again, it's actually very poignant talking about Lewis Hamilton, because he's a big advocate for that, and brilliantly so. And he's not, said, I'm not giving up until things are equal. What's that been like? Because from what we see in the news anyway here, it's been pretty damn intense.
Yeah. Well, it was a lot worse when, I think the Trump factor didn't help because he just fanned the flames of the guys who were opposing it and against it. And it was rough. It was tough. And really all I can really say is, I have multiple African American players that I coach.
Right.
And you don't realize the impact it has on them and how tough of a go that they have, and you just have to be there to support them and as best you can. Yeah, it's not easy, and it's going to be a long time until I think anything is equal as much as we all try to do our best. And there's no way that I would ever know what it's like for those guys, because we just can't tell. But it's not been great, and I don't think it's going to get any better. But as the more we can bring light to it and talk about it and be open about it, I think that's the best way. But
it's one of those things. A lot of people have the naive opinion, I think, that if we talk about it and if you put a hashtag on social media, then it'll be sorted in a couple of months, and it's not. There's enough information in documentaries to show that it's been systemic for ever, and that a couple of months of campaigning isn't going to make it go away. I just think I'd imagine anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd imagine it's really heightened in America with obviously some of the news stories and obviously the horrific stories of the George Floyd death and things like that. Has that been difficult to deal with? Is it any different being British over there, or even with the guys that you coach? It just feels like such a horrible, intense atmosphere that just needs to be gone.
It is. I mean, it is. We were on. We had curfews for a lot of, especially when we were in quarantine or when all the Black Lives Matter things were going on. We were on curfews. I think everyone had to be in the house by 10 o'clock with all the protests and the riots and the things that were going on, and it was extremely tense. And you look at half the things like when those guys stormed the Capitol before the election, and they were saying, everyone says, if it was a Black Lives Matter protest, then who knows what would have happened.
Completely agree with you.
Yeah.
More bullets fired, you would imagine.
100%. But because it wasn't, and people don't agree with that, but I definitely think that's the case. And it's a tough thing to talk about because, and especially for me, I don't 100% know all of it that and don't want to comment on too much when I don't really have a part to say on their side. But all we can do is just be there for the people that we know, that we coach, that we have an impact in their lives, and let them know that that we care for them and we're there for them and we're there to help, and we hope that things change and we can be a part of it. Yeah.
I think that's a stellar attitude to have, because I think part of the problem is that a lot of people do comment on something they don't truly understand, and being a victim of systemic and repeated racism when you haven't been and commenting on it isn't something that really flies with me or a lot of people. But this is the problem. When it's been systemic, it's systemic. I feel like I'm saying that word a lot. Maybe I should learn some other words. Anyway, big story. I just thought it'd be interesting to ask what it's been like in America, because it's with the pandemic here. It's been like people are protesting, but it's very much a social media majority thing versus actual physical stuff. And we live in the not in the country, but in a very, very small town. So we've hardly seen anything really. Anyway, that generally we've been almost an hour, I think, there. So it's going to bring it to a natural close, I think. But on the light-hearted note of the Black Lives Matter movement. Yeah. You've been, and you're mate. We've obviously known each other for a lot of years, but you're an absolute credit to your father and your family. The path you forged now in the coaching side of things is brilliant. I'm super excited for you, your wife, and your current one child for the birth of your second. 3 weeks away. That's going to be mega. All I'm saying, really enjoy this spring break, because I think the next one might be a little bit more sleepless.
For sure. Yeah.
But yeah, mate, thanks so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. We'll stay on and catch up. But this is it's been brilliant for me. Brilliant to hear. The story will be listened to and enjoyed, I'm sure, by many. So thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been great.
Good. That was this week's podcast with David Maddren. I certainly think that Beyonce knows more now about American sports than he did this morning. Please get in touch if you've got any feedback. It's all welcome as long as it's overwhelmingly positive and glitteringly complimentary. Keep smiling. Beyonce out.